Welcome to today's STEM Fellowship webinar. Our topic for today are study tips and tricks to boost your grades. So we realize that the exam season is nearby and a lot of people are very anxious for exams. So we hope that the study methods that we'll talk about today can help you not only with your exams, but in the future in your academic career.
So, types of studying. So when you're studying, there's different types of courses and you need to adopt a different mindset when you're learning about them. So there's going to be your factual courses such as biology and history. For example, you may need to memorize specific enzymes or historical figures, right? These types of courses require a lot of particular knowledge. And then there's going to be your conceptual courses such as math and English, and those they're really a lot more focused on the applications. So you know the concepts, and now you have to be able to apply them to real life situations, pretty much. But then there's some courses that are kind of in between, intermediate, such as physics. Physics is quite theory heavy, but you still need to be able to apply it to real life situations. So your study methods will always depend on the type of course that you're studying, and you have to keep in mind how you're going to be examined. So, for example, in conceptual courses, the examiner, they expect you to know what the concepts involved are. They expect you to know those concepts, but you have to be able to apply those concepts. And that's why in those courses it's important to do practice problems, sample essays, right? Just practice, practice, practice. And then in factual courses with a lot of specific knowledge, those are going to be your flashcards, your memorization.
So what we really want to emphasize is active learning instead of passive learning. So some active learning strategies can help students engage in the teaching process themselves and takes the pressure off the teacher and puts it in the students' hands. So the students can take the reins of their own learning. You can do this not only in class, but you can do this on your own or with a friend group. So we recommend brainstorming ideas that you have, having class discussions or just discussing with friends, and make up scenarios. And this isn't only for biology or chemistry courses, but also courses such as math, where you can see where you can apply the things that you're learning in real life. Also, presenting a topic and pretending that you're teaching it to someone can help you understand the topic yourself, because you'll organize it in a way that you understand to make sure that others understand. We also want to recommend active recall. So always remember that memorization is temporary. And if you read your notes, then you'll remember it for a certain period of time. But to really understand the topic, you need to test yourself while you're learning it. So active recall asks yourself questions when you're learning a topic to ensure that you grasp the information. It actively stimulates your memory instead of passive learning. So instead of just reading over your notes or rewriting your notes, you're stimulating your memory at certain points in time, and this is what's going to make you remember the course. Another method that works for a lot of people is the Pomodoro method. So it is studying in time intervals. So we really recommend Pomodoro for people who have large tasks at hand that don't have a specific due date. So if you have a large thesis to write or a big project, we recommend the Pomodoro for such things that you can set your own due dates. And this is what causes procrastination when we don't have a due date nearby and we wait until the end. So Pomodoro ensures that you have your own timeline set and that you can tackle large tasks in small time intervals. So you can take 25-minute study times or even an hour with 5 to 10-minute breaks or as long as you need, and you can use a YouTube video to follow along, or you can set the timers yourself and study for that period of time and then take a break. This can help with your mental health, and also it'll help you get through large tasks in time intervals. It's for people who can't focus on long tasks altogether, and you really need a break for your mental and your physical health.
Mm-hmm. And it's important to emphasize that because there was actually a study that showed that at the most your brain can focus on a specific topic for 50 minutes at optimal efficiency. So if you're studying for 2, 3 hours in a single go without a break, then you'll really just get burnt out. And that's why the Pomodoro technique, we really, really recommend it. So making the most out of your class time. So something that really helps is reading the material beforehand, whether that's reading the textbook chapter or even watching a YouTube video on what you know that you're going to be covering. Because what happens is that you're already comfortable with the material that you're going to be talking about. And instead of being like most people who are struggling, trying to write down as fast as possible, keep up with the teacher, then you can actually absorb more of the material that he's teaching, and you know because you already know the material he's teaching, and you've already come up with questions about your so that you can arrive at a full understanding of the topic. And when you study, it's important that you understand the course objectives and make sure that you understand the main ideas. And this is where the 80-20 mindset comes in. In any given test, there will be 80% of the test will be made up of concepts that you know will absolutely be on the test. So for example, if you're studying thermochemistry, you know Hess's law will be on the test, right? So don't get caught up in the details. Instead, at the start of your studying, focus on mastering the overarching concepts that that are really central to the subject that you're studying. That will save a lot of time and make your studying a lot more efficient. Next is using your textbook. The textbook is obviously it's a great resource for practice because it's the curriculum. It's what you're implied. It's what you're supposed to know. You see that a good students, they review the notes, they review class notes from the teacher, but you'll see that the best students, what they do is they use the class notes, of course, to study, but they also add what they can from the textbook. Because when you use a textbook to study, then you know you're getting the full curriculum, and you can go over and you have any material that your teacher might not have the time or might have forgotten to go over. And that means that on the test, there's a lot less time in tests where you see something that you weren't prepared for. So you can either read that beforehand or follow along in class.
So the structure of your study time after class is very important. So after class, it's very important that you read your notes to make sure that you've consolidated the information. So what we'll go over later is a curve that shows how many times you study and how much you remember. So it's really important to revise what you've learned to recall everything. Also, attempt the questions from your textbook. So sometimes your teacher will assign you these homework questions or they won't, and then you can do it yourself when you're going over your textbook when you're studying. And not only for math, when you do your practice questions, you keep them in your notes. It's really important to refer back to these questions that were for homework because similar test questions will show up in tests. You can also use this for not only math courses, but also biology or chemistry courses because you can have practice problems and then you can see those questions often show up in exams and tests. There's often debate about handwriting or typing your notes, and it really depends on the type of person you are and the course that you're studying. The amount of material and content that the course has really affects if you take handwritten notes or if you type them or if you do a mixture of both. Handwriting notes will improve your memory. A lot of studies have shown that when you write your notes, you will recall more information. But also, if you're focusing on efficiency and if you have a lot of notes to take, then typing notes can help.
Mm-hmm. Flashcards really help as well. So next, the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. So you should really optimize the number of times you review. This was Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. This was a study that was done, which found that the more and the earlier you review, the more you recall. So for example, someone who studies 40 minutes for 7 days and preparing for a test will do better than someone who studies 5 hours the night before. And because it was shown that the more consistent that you are with your studying, if you just chunk away at it, then the better you retain it, the more solidified it is in your mind. And not only does this lead to better memorization, but you also get a lot more sleep, which leads to better mental health and, of course, better test results. Sleep is very important.
So we asked you guys to send in some questions if you had any. So our marketing team reached out on Instagram and there was a pool and places that you could ask us questions. And now we're going to answer some of your questions. So what I want to say is that the underlying theme in many of these questions is mental health. And it's really important, especially being students today. I think we all have gone through stages of time when we feel burnt out or we're depressed about our grades or we just have too much on our plate. And it's really important to focus on mental health and do things, take small steps towards improving your mental health. So which is what we'll go over now.
Mhm. So the first question is about mental health. How to manage your mental and physical well-being when you have a lot on your plate. This is a very important question because of course, academics are always very important, but your mental and physical well-being should take priority because if you disregard them for too long, you will find that it could be actually ultimately a hindrance to your academics. So very good question. And so this would come into time management. Because if you're always working on things at the last minute, then you will find yourself overwhelmed. And then you will find that not only your mental and physical well-being, but your academics as well will deteriorate. So this comes with what we said before about just chunking away, getting used to chunking away at all your work. And I find that what really helps a lot of productive people, what they do is they have daily schedules. If you take 1 or 2 minutes at the beginning of the day to say what your goals are for today, what you're supposed to get done, right? You don't have to plan your days minute by the minute, but if you have a general idea of what you're supposed to be doing at any given time, then you will find you'll be a lot more productive and you will feel a lot less overwhelmed. And you will find that your mental and physical well being should improve.
So the next question says, how do you study even when you feel burnt out? So a lot of high school students, university students, and all throughout our life, a lot of us will go through the being burnt out. So you don't know what it is when you basically have studied for so long that your body physically does not want to keep going and you're extremely tired and it can even come with poor mental health such as depression or anxiety related to your test. If you have these symptoms and you don't know what it's called being burnt out. And a lot of us will go through it because a lot of us are going to strive for those high grades or even try to do things that can seem very hard at times. So studying especially can have this effect on your body, and even people who are in physical sports and activities can also feel this. So trying to corporate with burning out has there's a lot of things you can do to help yourself in this case. And always remember that your mental health comes before anything. So if you want to study well and if you want to achieve those good grades, you possibly cannot do that if you have a bad mental health and if you're not getting enough sleep.
Mhm.
So it helps you retain information. So if you're feeling burnt out, try to just get some sleep, take some breaks. So the Pomodoro method can really help and ensures that you're not studying for hours or even days on end. Getting sleep is is very important. Eat food, so take those breaks and just eat, or even when you're studying, try to grab some snacks that can boost your blood sugar and can help you keep going for a little bit more. Get some physical activity. So if it helps to just take a walk around your room or go on a jog or do whatever helps you to take your mindset away from studying for a little bit and really grasp that information by taking a break. It also helps to, if you're really feeling very poor, and again, your mental health is deteriorating, seek counseling. If your guidance counselor or even a therapist can help you, then go see them. And it's never a shame to feel burnt out, and a lot of us will go through it.
Mhm. So the last questions is how to overcome feelings of lack of motivation and procrastination to get good grades. So again, that is a very good question again. All of us go through moments where we just don't feel like studying, even if we know we have things to do. But really, what separates good students from the best is that the best students do it regardless. So to overcome those feelings is you have to instill new habits and get used to showing up. So if you start focusing on applying little by little, instilling the habits that we've talked about today, for example, your notes before the class, or making flashcards and studying them, chunking them away bit by bit, making sure that you're engaged in your learning, making sure that you understand the material instead of just memorizing it, right? If you start instilling these habits into your life bit by bit, then you will find that you will face less resistance when the time comes to work. But it is a process and it will take time. And that's me just being honest, but um, over time you will be more motivated and the procrastination will decrease. Again, I think the daily schedule that I talked about earlier would really help here. If you have, if you make a timeline of what you're supposed to do at any given time, then I think you will find that you procrastinate a lot less.
And procrastination is something that we all struggle with. What really helps me personally is taking the smallest step possible. So, for example, if you've hit a writer's block and you can't think of any new ideas to write, or you don't want to go back to writing, the smallest step will help you. So, even just opening the word file and looking at what you have and typing one or two words will really get you past that procrastination point. Because the smallest step, even if you tell yourself, I'm just going to open my notebook, it'll get you to the procrastination. And setting due dates will help you with procrastination as well. So we procrastinate nearing the due date. So the moment that we stop procrastinating is when we realize that the due date is nearing. So if you set your own dates for yourself, it can help you as well. So we would like to thank everyone for attending the webinar and for watching. This has been a STEM Fellowship webinar, and we hope you all the best of luck.